This is Bold Move Radio.
Streaming 24/7.
24/7.
Say Africa, say Africa, say Africa.
Boldly breaking barriers and limitations.
7 p.m. on a Thursday evening, and you are listening to Bold News Radio. My name is Nyeleti Baloyi, and I will be your host for today. Just a little bit of an intro about me. I'm a fourth-year LLB student at the University of Pretoria, and I'm also an Alan Gray Orbis Foundation Candidate Fellow with the prospects of being admitted into the Fellows Association next year. Tonight, we'll be having a conversation about making career choices that matter. And to join me in having this conversation, we will be having Cheytanov, the CEO and founder of 3RC, an organization that hopes and aspires to connect matric students and all people actually looking into joining higher institutions of learning with correct career paths looking into the future. But before I say more, let me give Kay an opportunity to greet and welcome and introduce herself. Kay, welcome to Bold News Radio. We are so excited to have you this evening.
Thank you very much, Nyeleti. So lovely to be here and very excited to speak to all of you today.
Thank you. So just to get us started, Kay, could you please tell us what is 3RC? What is this amazing institution that helps us connect with institutions of higher learning?
So 3RC is a company, my company, that started 20 years ago. And my main aim has always been to educate, motivate, and inspire the youth. So our main focus is to do career expos at high schools across the country. And we do that annually to about 230 to 260 high schools. It's our absolute passion, our absolute love to show learners that there are other options out there and that there's not only one route to success. So we deal specifically with private tertiary institutions, all of which are registered and certified by the Department of Higher Education. And so that's why I'm here tonight, is to help everybody to make sure that if you're choosing a career path, or you're thinking about studying, or you are possibly just going into high school, that it's never too late or too early to start thinking about these things.
Definitely. I think a lot of us think about our careers when we reach grade 9 and you have to choose subjects, and then you sort of have a pool of careers you're possibly considering, and then you actually only make your choices in matric. And that's something that leads to people making the wrong career choices, because making career choices too late doesn't give you an opportunity, for example, to job shadow, to do more research, to look at the prospects of employment after graduating, which is something that is really important in the current world, because so many degrees are ending up outdated, and that's something we are going to talk about later in tonight's show, the future of work. So I really hope that all our listeners are tuned in. This isn't just a conversation for high school learners. If you're a parent, this is definitely a conversation you need to listen to. If you're a teacher, if you work with children in any way, this is definitely something that is important in giving guidance for careers, because a career is really something that needs to be well thought through. And many a times, students in grade 11 just haven't figured this out. When you're in matric, just haven't thought about the fact that it's not just about going to a higher institution and spending 3 years there. It's about choosing a career and setting the right foundations. So, Kay, you mentioned that you guys do career expos. Would you please tell us a little more? How have you adapted to doing career expos in the current, situation we're living in with COVID? How easy is it for you to go to schools?
So obviously, after then 18 years of doing our career expos and being really successful with that and helping so many learners in finding their correct space, we hit COVID. And we had to find a different way and maneuver around the limitations that we had to make sure that we still reach our market and to make sure that these learners are not a lost generation to us, 2 years of lost matrics. And so we created an online career expo called swivel.com. And I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on. But basically what we wanted to create is a space where learners can go 24/7, 365, that is open to them and open to their parents, where they can get all of the information that they want if you can imagine, a shopping mall for tertiary education of the best quality. And it's really spectacular. It is the first 3D expo in the world. So we are very proudly South African, waving our flag that we were the first to do that. And it's just a space that we wanted to create for learners where they, so many times in the career expos that we do, the learners feel so shy to come and ask the questions. And they're not sure what it is that they want to know, to be quite honest. And here we wanted to create a space where they can just be and go and experience. It is a game-like environment. It's fun. And all I'm going to do is just invite you to go. So it's www.swivel, and that's spelled SWIWEL.com. And we're going to talk about it a lot more during tonight.
It's quite interesting that you said swivel and you pronounced it that way. Can you just tell us, given that this is clearly you're a creative, you went out and created the first 3D expo in the world, you surely have a creative way that you came up with that name. So why swivel? Why is it called swivel and spelled that way?
So it's actually quite a funny story. We created this beautiful space, and I wanted something that was fun, that was young, that was short, and I wanted a .com because I wanted it to be an international entity. My main aim was actually for South Africa to become a study hub for the rest of the world. We have fantastic institutions. We have wonderful study opportunities. As you know, compared to the rest of the world, it is quite cheap. So I wanted to create that space. And so we were looking for a name, and you will not believe it, but every possible .com has been registered to somebody. And so we were thinking, and it took us a few days, and my production manager was standing in front of me, and I was literally just doing this on my chair, like swiveling around and around. And she stopped me, she said, "Stop it, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm swiveling." And I looked at her and she looked at me, we burst out laughing, and that's where Swivel was born. And so just afterwards, we actually started thinking that that's exactly what it is. It being 3D, it's available on all platforms. So from your phone to your tablet, to your computer, to a smart TV, and all you're going to do is you're going to swivel with your finger left and right. And that is how you're going to get the information. So that's where Swivel comes from.
It's so amazing to see how you can draw inspiration from even the smallest tasks. You could just be doing something unconsciously, and that could very well be a name that takes you right there to the top of the pyramid in the world. That is amazing. So you mentioned that I can, access this platform on any sort of device, So what can I expect when I log on and I enter the website onto my search bar? What is it that what I will see? What's the interface like? Do I get to communicate with anyone from the different stalls? Am I connected with other institutions? How does it work?
So I'm firstly going to say, go and look for yourself, but to give you a little bit of a heads up, it is a game-like environment. So for those that like gaming, it looks like a game, it feels like a game. You're going to go in, you're going to be greeted in the entrance hall with a vocal introduction about what it is. And you're going to have to follow tiny little white arrows on the floor that you're going to click through. And that will take you through the entire 2 halls. You can expect over 40 different exhibitors. You can expect it all together about over 500 different study options and opportunities and degrees and certificates and diplomas that are available. Many, many different industries being represented, all the way from nature reservation to gaming design, to cannabis grower, to cybersecurity, so many different things. And once you stand in front of in front of one of the exhibitors, you then get to either watch their videos, download or print their brochures. You can communicate with them directly on WhatsApp, straight from the app. You can leave them messages if you have a longer message that you want to leave for them. You can find out and view some videos about some of their alumni and where they are in the world and what kind of industries they've been involved in. There are competitions that you can partake in. There are prizes up for currently probably about 50,000 Rand this year that can be won in prizes. big one at the end of October. We're giving 10,000 Rand away for one lucky student that has been part of our journey. And yes, so much. We also have, before I forget, we also have workshops on a monthly basis where we feature 4 of our institutions. And each one of those would then give you information about their specific industry. If I can use an example, ETA, which is Exercise Teachers Academy, is currently on board for March. And they're talking about being an entrepreneur in the sports industry and how you can start your own business once you've studied with them. So those are a few things that you can look forward to. There's also Yenza.me is a company that we've taken hands with. So if you are not sure what to study or even where to start, say for instance, you're in grade 9 and you have no idea what to do. People are asking you, you are now starting to think about what kind of subjects you need to take. Yenza.me will definitely help you. They take you through an entire journey of different assessments, from personality to what kind of environment will be best for you, what subject choices would be best for you. So I would definitely advise stop over there and make an appointment with them. And after that, just go look around, play around, go and have fun.
That sounds absolutely amazing. Honestly, I wish I knew a little bit more about this when I was in grade 9. I could have benefited greatly from such an exhibition because, in fact, little story time, I did physics and life sciences in high school. And like I said in the intro, I am now doing LLB law. And I've actually found a lot of interest in commercial subjects. So in tax law, I'm in insolvency, in trust and estates, so succession. Those are kind of the things that I'm genuinely enjoying now. And had I taken a personality test then or a career guidance test, perhaps that's something I would have identified in myself. And I wouldn't have gone the physics and life sciences route, because sometimes I sit in class and I'm like, I wish I did accounting in grade 10. It might have come in handy at a time like this. So it's really important. It's never too late even to take a career test, I suppose. It's not just for grade 9 students, even if you're in grade 11 and 12, correct?
Absolutely. Not even that. I have, because I've also dabbled in that in my 20 years in education. And there are students coming out university 3rd, 4th year, realizing that maybe they have gone down the wrong route. And then they take this kind of career assessment. And then they go into a different route, but hopefully the one that's going to, fulfill them in future life. So this is not just for the kids, this is all for the parents. If you wake up in the morning and you dread what you're doing, then maybe it's time for a change.
Definitely. And I mean, yes, we're going to talk about it later, but there's several institutions where you can go and do part-time courses. You don't have to quit your job and focus on one thing. Actually, my mom also just completed her LLB degree. So shout out to my mom, she's graduating soon and is so excited. Woo! And she did it while working, and it was like, wow, the type of dedication required to do that, but it's definitely possible. If you figure out later in life that your career path wasn't necessarily what you wanted or you want to go into something else, there are several institutions for you to do that. And we're going to talk about it in just a bit. So please definitely stay tuned. But right now we're going to take a quick ad break and come back and hear a little bit more about Swivel, 3RC, and the future of work.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Streaming 24/7.
24/7. Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika, nakupenda sana. Oh, Afrika, nakupenda sana.
Welcome back to Bold Moves Radio, raising the flag of hope for an African child. We are still in conversation with Kay, and we'll be talking about the future of work, making career choices that matter. We are currently talking about career tests, and I saw we have a few people in our comments talking about how essential it is for people to take career and personality tests. And this is coming from an older person, so I'm genuinely genuinely happy that this is something that we have been able to chat about. Just something to say to our viewers and listeners, we are open to hearing what you have to say, what you're thinking. The comment sections are open. If you have any questions, please do drop them in the comment section. We will be looking out and make sure to answer them before the end of the show. So please, if you have any questions about career guidance, finding out where you'd like to start, Kay definitely is willing to have and give you some advice just briefly this evening before you go and endeavor to open Swivel and check for your careers. So, Kay, we were talking about Swivel, and I just want to ask you, what kind of institutions market within your space? You know, which institutions are part of your exhibitions?
So we specialize in private tertiary education. The reason for that is long and involved, like we went into the afternoon. But so I can give you an entire list. So on Swivel, you'll see there's over 40 institutions. But we look specifically for private tertiary institutions that are certified with the Department of Higher Education. That's very important for us. We need to know that the certification or the degree that you're going to get is a qualification that is well respected and internationally recognized. So those are the kind of colleges and universities that we deal with. We also deal with institutions that take learners from here overseas. So agency type situations that would then place them in international universities, America, UK, Australia, even in China, we have an agency that works with that. So our aim is to make sure that learners understand that there's a future after you've been turned down by one of the state universities. And more so, I would like to get to a point where learners think of the private institutions as their first option rather than a second option. We have learned over so many years in this industry that there's so many misconceptions around private tertiary education. So many people think that the qualification that you get at a private tertiary education is subpar, substandard, and that the degree that you, for instance, get at a varsity college is not the same degree that you get at a WITS or UJ. Now, I'm here to tell you that that is a myth. It's a blatant lie. And how I say that is that the qualifications that are reached out to these private institutions at any given time, the certification that they have to go through for that degree is exactly the same qualifications and certifications that they need to go through at any state university. So I just want to put that on the table because a lot of people don't know that that is the truth. We also deal with the privates primarily because they move faster. And what that means is in a world where things change so fast and technology is at the cusp at the moment and it's moving so quickly that within months, things change. The private institutions, because they are sometimes funded by private companies, move faster than the state universities. So they can adjust their curriculum according to what the industries need and they listen to their industry. So for instance, give you an example. The uptake of social media in the last few years. We have institutions that have magnificent courses within the social media space, brand management, advertising, all to do with the social media. No such qualification is even available at a state university. And if your child or if you are interested in those kind of things, I'm here to tell you that there's a place for you to go and study this. And that doesn't mean that you need to go and do a degree. You can do a short course or you can do a certificate or a diploma. So yeah, to answer your question, that is where we specialize. That's what we love to do. And we like the fast movement of the private education field.
That's definitely a good thought because the world is evolving. A lot of careers that were viable 5 years ago aren't viable now. You know, when you go and study something, it's not just about being able to find a job right after graduation. You need to look at the long term, the longevity of whatever that it is you're going to do. But for the students listening now and wanting to possibly go into a private institution, how would they go about explaining this to their parents? Because I know sometimes it's like, like you just mentioned, there are a lot of myths surrounding private institutions. And like Kay has said, it's really important to make sure that they're registered and reputable institutions. And this is something that's really easy to do. They're all listed there. So how would you suggest going about a conversation, about helping people, your parents mostly, the traditional ones, to understand that there is a possibility of a great career after going to a private institution?
Well, I would say start by allowing them to be part of the process with you. So I think what happens a lot is two scenarios. Parents would go, you are going to go and study XYZ because that's what I tell you to do, and that is a secure choice. Or the child would decide on something and then have to beg, plead, and borrow to be accepted by the parent. And I would say to you, make them part of that journey and start early. So say, for instance, you're in grade 10 at the moment. You are looking at doing something other than what your parents are suggesting at the moment. Say, for instance, they're saying that you need to go and do a business degree at UJ. Let's just say that. Start by introducing them to all the other private institutions that does exactly that same business degree. Go to the open days. Let them speak to the lecturers. Let them see the environment in which you will be studying. This to me is incredibly important. I'm a mother myself. My children are very different. Both of them are very different. What would suit the one would not suit the other. And I think as a learner, as a future student, you need to know what would be good for you. Are you the kind of person that would flourish in a big class of 250 kids? Or do you need more attention or private attention from a lecturer? Are you the kind of kid that would love to be involved in big sports days and the whole idea of being surrounded by a university feel, big campus feel, so many people, you understand what I mean? Or are you okay with not having the sports situation around you, that you just want to concentrate on your studies? These are the kind of questions you need to ask yourself. And once you have those answers, you need to sit down and speak to your parents about it. And I guess the best way to do is to make sure that they understand that there's security in your choice, because that's what parents want. They only want the best for their children. I don't think there's one parent that would maliciously want to send their child to a place that they're going to hate or that they're not going to be unhappy with. But the fact of the matter is that we are currently sitting with a 54% dropout rate for first years. And that says something. That says to me that there wasn't much thought into this. That maybe the idea of something was better than the actual studying of something. I see so many learners that go and are very successful in it, but I see so many learners going, I want to do law. Why? Is it because you saw a few law programs on TV and it looks great and it looks sexy and fun? Is that what you're after in the law? Or I want to go and be a stockbroker. Great. What is it to be a stockbroker? Have you actually ever spent time in an office like that? So there's so many things to think about and consider, but making your parents part of that process and telling them what it is that you feel. I also find that a lot of teenagers don't speak to their parents. They keep all of these ideas to themselves, and then they get to matric and they made a decision, and now it's too late to make that change. But make your parents part of the process and start early.
Those are some very good insights, Kay. Thank you so much. I really hope anyone who's struggling with getting their parents to understand going to private institutions will think about these few different ways. But I think another thing that hinders people from going to private institutions is just the financial aspects of being at a private institution. So could you just tell us, for ease of mind, for the parents that are here, for the students, are there any possible ways of finding funding? Because I know for a fact, NSFAS only funds public institutions. So when you decide to go to a private institution, what are your possible avenues of receiving bursaries or scholarships?
So some of the private institutions that we work with do have not bursary programs, but they have scholarship programs. So that would mean that they would take 5 or 6 students on an annual basis and groom them. So that is what you look at in the private institutions. For the parents out there, the only thing I can suggest is, look, if there's not enough money to do a full degree, then start small. Do a certificate course for 1 year, or decide to do a part-time course while somebody can work for it. There are so many avenues. There's not just one way to be successful. And I think so many learners and parents think, you know what, we're going to do 3 years of this, and then after that, they're going to get a wonderful job, and then life is going to be peachy. We don't live in that situation anymore. We spoke earlier today, and I told you that a few years ago, when I was starting in my journey, they said to me that in my lifetime, I will have 5 different jobs, right? Jobs, as in my career choices. It is now up to 16 for any given student leaving a university or college. That is how fast things move. So there needs to be a long-term plan for studying. It doesn't mean that you have to do 3 years in one go. It can mean that you do a year or part-time. And if there's a possibility, all our banks are very willing to do student loans if there's security behind that for parents. There are many ways to skin a cat. If you want to, you can.
Thank you so much for the reassurance. I think this is definitely reassuring to a lot of people thinking of going for the more unconventional methods that are only offered in private institutions. So it's going to put a lot of ease to students, to parents, just knowing that it doesn't mean the end of the world if you don't have the funds at that particular time to do a whole degree at one go. And we're going to continue to talk about the different degree choices that we have. I saw we have a few things in the comments, a few questions in the comments about viable degrees, and we're going to do that in just a bit. But I want us to still continue to talk about Swivel. So you mentioned that you do career exhibitions at schools, and you currently have well over 250 schools that you're currently exhibiting at. How do you get Swivel to come to your school and do an exhibition?
So 3RC actually has the 2 different sections. So our live shows is called the Rocking Future Career Expo, has been for the last almost 21 years now. And then Swivel is our new baby that we started last year for those learners that we actually can't get to on a face-to-face basis. Now, if you can understand, we have massive logistics going to these different schools. We currently run four shows per day with 2 different teams. So one team is my inland team. They do 2 shows every day, one at 8 o'clock in the morning, the next one at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And so does my Cape Town team. And we go out to the different schools, and we have all of these different institutions, private institutions, 26 of them, coming with us to the school. And it is live, it is fantastic, it is vibey, but we also have a very strict criteria for these schools that we have to do live. Because we go out with private institutions, we look at schools with an above 90% pass rate for the matrics. So we need to know that the matrics are putting their work in. And then we look at a minimum of a 15,000 per annum school fee. And that would just mean that those learners will be able to go to our private institutions, put down a deposit, and actually study. Places like Varsity College, places like Boston, Pearson, all of those can give you a qualification at that rate.
Okay, thank you. I just really hope that our audience noted that there's a difference between Swivel and Rocking Roadshow. So with Swivel, you can access it online. You don't need to pay anything. Just go on, hop onto the exhibition, figure out what it is you like, speak to a few institutions. If they can't come to your school because you don't meet the requirements, it doesn't mean you can't access their amazing exhibitions. So please log on to their website and see for yourself the different career paths you could possibly take. Speak to those different institutions, ask your questions. You know, a lot of people are scared of asking people questions, and those institutions really appreciate the questions. It helps them also when they're forming their marketing tools to make sure that they're answering the common FAQ questions that people have. So you mentioned the registration process, and for the schools that do have meet the minimum requirements, how much would it be to get you to come and market?
So the live shows are also completely free to the schools. We just love what we do. So we go out to the schools and we do that. The reason why we created Swivel was obviously on the back of COVID, to be able to reach our market. But it has also led us to be able to see so many more kids. You know, when we are limited to 250 schools per annum, and we need to see all of our matrics before May, end of May in the year, because after that they start their exams, we just realized that with Swivel, that is available 24/7, 365, we can reach the entire South Africa, and we can reach the entire Africa, and we can reach the entire world. So we have just, thrown off the shackles, and we are very happy to be able to reach anybody that has a phone and Wi-Fi or data can get information.
All right, thank you, Kay. We're going to take a quick ad break. And when we come back, we'll start talking about the future of work. So we'll be answering your questions about different degrees, diplomas, certificates that you may have, and Kay will give us some insights on what she thinks the future of work will look like within the next few years. So stay tuned to Bold News Radio. Well, we seem to be experiencing some technical difficulties, so we'll just go on and continue with the show. So you have all these exhibitors, you have all these different career choices that you may have. What are your top 5 most interesting, that you saw and you thought, wow, this seems like an interesting choice, So what were your top 5?
So I think currently, because it's such a huge upcoming industry, we have a company called Chiba. They are the first registered cannabis college in South Africa. And it's actually through the University of Limpopo. It is amazing what they are doing. It is not just the growing of the cannabis, it is about what you can produce. They're producing bricks, they're producing fuel, they're producing material, they're producing medicine. It is just such an amazingly, it just grabs my attention because it's so new. So that is something that I'm enthralled about. Then obviously the high-tech things. There are so many high-tech things happening at the moment. Cybersecurity is at an all-time high. If you study cybersecurity, you will never be without a job. Then there are interesting things, like if you're a gamer and you love gaming, there's a BA Gaming Design degree that you can go and do at SAE. There's a degree in, I have to make sure that I say this correctly, but it is from Inkscape, is one of our massive clients. And they do this amazing degree about thinkinology. I think it's called. And it's about how to produce ideas. We all can have ideas, but what do we do with those ideas? So those are just a few that I come across and I'm like, oh, I wish I could have studied that.
Just talking about it, I'm just like, wow, actually that last one sounds quite interesting, because it doesn't even matter whether you studied medicine, whether you studied law, or you're in teaching. Learning how to think and to come up with good ideas, viable ideas, is really important. So it sounds like it could benefit just about anybody. So someone in our comment section, Happiness, actually just asked which courses are in demand and that easily secure employment currently.
So as I said, the high-tech industries definitely take the cake there. I think after what happened with COVID, where a lot of things went online, and I think we started seeing the adaptability of people When it just happened, everybody was like, oh my God, I can't do this. Nobody will be able to handle everything online. And 2 years later, all meetings are now online. It is now actually a bit of a stress to get in the car to go somewhere. It's like, can't we just do this by Zoom? So the adaptability of people has been greatly proven, I guess, by what has happened to us in COVID. So any career within that space, the online space, online education, cybersecurity, any kind of, I think that is just where we are going, where we are moving. Obviously, we will always need people. That is an absolute given. So one of the big things actually that stands out over the next few years is caretakers. Because our people are getting older and older than what we are used to, we will need more caretakers. It's a given. So nursing would be a very good direction to go in if that is your calling. And I believe it needs to be a calling. You can't just be a nurse or a doctor. Teaching is changing. So the normal idea of a teacher is completely being thrown out. Yes, you still have teachers in front of the class, but now you can teach people that sit across the other side of the world, and you become that teacher. Another big growth industry is anything within coaching. So that could be from sports to natural coaching to health coaching. So another industry that is definitely booming. And that, as you can see, people together with technology. So I would always say, yes, it's important to look at what is currently happening, but how do you fit into that? How are you going to make a success out of that? What is the person inside you want to do for the rest of your life? If you're not happy with being surrounded by people, then maybe you shouldn't have a job where you can be sitting in a big office with open plan. A few things to think about.
Definitely. I think I love what you said about seeing how you fit into these different changes that are happening in the world. Because my mother always says, if you love something and you have a passion for it, you'll be able to make it work regardless of what the circumstances are looking like. But I have a question, especially for students who are currently or learners in high school, leaving high school currently. How do you navigate the fact that a lot of the technological side of things people can do without actually having degrees? For example, currently big companies are moving towards social media marketing and making use of influencers who don't necessarily have to have a formal qualification, but may do it just by having a large following and be able to produce content. So how do you think we should be able to navigate this new world in which formal qualifications, this as much as they're important, but in certain sectors and areas of work, not so much important, What do you think would be the solution if you wanted to go, for example, into marketing?
I would say always consider longevity. And I say that to my boys that come to me and they want to be sports stars. Is there longevity in your career choice? And I'm not saying don't be a sports star. By all means, please go and do that. Follow your dream, push everything that you possibly can. But what happens if you get injured? Or if you're an influencer and suddenly you're not that cool anymore? That happens. I think things are so transient that you need to know that when the rubber hits the road, that you have substance. What is that substance for you? Is it a degree in law for you? We were talking about it earlier. I mean, you can be an influencer. You can with your law degree. So what is behind you and what will last in the long run? That would be my question to you.
Really, really great thing to think about and continuous learning. just, it doesn't end with your 4 years with your degree. It's really important to continuously upskill yourself. For example, companies that didn't know how to use Zoom and web calls probably had a very difficult time during COVID. And some of them may very well have been under. And, my aspirations is possibly to work in business rescue. So I will definitely rescue your company, but don't get yourself in that situation for no reason. So it's really important to look at trends, and try to keep up. Don't be that person who sits and thinks, oh, I'm going to learn how to do this later. I mean, currently there is a big importance of learning how to code. A lot of people are learning how to code. And I mean, there's so many online courses that are absolutely free where you can learn how to code. Small things like this make you attractive to employers, and that's really important for a person to think about. But we've got a bit of a buzz going on in the comments, and someone is asking, what are your 5, according to you, 5 common degrees that you think a person should avoid, given the future and how it's looking? So future of work question. 5 common qualifications you think we should avoid that may not have a place in the future.
Oh, I'm going to upset somebody here. So please forgive me if I step on toes. But I think administrative degrees are going to go by the wayside. Programs now do these things for us. Accounting degrees are going to go very quickly. The programs do it for us. So yes, if you need to go into auditing or you need to be a CA that analyzes the information, yes. But a bookkeeper that puts it in, probably be out very soon. What other things? I think there'll always be space, especially in South Africa, for technical requirements. I do believe that there's space to grow within that. I think too many people study marketing degrees because it's the only degree that they get accepted into. And it is honestly, in the bigger scheme of things, and if you look at all the other type of degrees, probably something to avoid. PR degrees are starting to disappear as well, purely because once you know something or you have worked within an industry that shows you those kind of things like marketing, like PR, you learn it on the trade. It's something that you can pick up. So there I would rather say go and spend the time and work for very little, but work with somebody that knows what they're doing and you can learn all the tricks of the trade. So yeah, that's my feeling. And if I get on the opposite thing of that, anything to do with coding, anything to do with the tech qualifications, and I'm not saying that needs to be your main thing, but if you can do short courses, like you mentioned, to add onto your CV. If you want to be a social media marketing person, but you can also code, or you want to be a social media marketing person and you can also do PR, you are higher up in the ranking level than somebody that just did a normal degree.
Whew, a lot of reflecting to do. I really hope you don't step on anyone's toes. And if you're feeling like you were touched by this, then maybe it's a sign for you to reevaluate. Maybe think about taking a bit of a short course. Like we said, make yourself attractive. If you've got a Bachelor of Administration degree, what else is it that you can bring to the table? This is a very famous line on social media. What do you bring to the table? You need to bring something to the table to your employer. No one's going to employ you if you aren't bringing something to the table. So thank you so much for that. I think for a lot, my brother's in matric. Really hope he's listening attentively here in making his choices, making career choices that matter. It's really important because the thing is, South Africa, we've all seen, has a very frightening unemployment rate. And it's important that if you're going to go and spend so much money at an institution of higher learning, you make sure it's something that counts. Don't just walk in there and do whatever it is you get accepted into simply because you want to be able to post that, oh, I'm now at this institution, I'm now going out to a club. That's really not what it's about. It's about making sure that whatever you do is going to lead to something proper for you. You're going to have a decent career and future with it. It's not just about choosing the first thing that comes into your way. It's important. Give these things some thought. And sometimes, yes, you can't get into something else. Kay has just told us, perhaps start with a certificate, work your way up. A lot of degrees are a good foundational degree for you to do. And we spoke about continuous learning. It's really important that you don't just end with the degree that you have. Have a degree with a good foundation and continue to build on that. Continue to make sure you're keeping up with the trends and making sure that you're not going to be in a position where if they say there's no need for accountants anymore because programs can do it, there must be something you can do. You can say, okay, then I can program your programs for you. I can code them for you. I have a space. Actually, that's something that reminds me. We were talking a few weeks ago about the future of work in law, actually. And someone was like, no, if we're going to get to a point where robots can make, your arguments for you, where judges can make your arguments for you. And then someone brought up the aspect of emotions and thinking, and that's something that is needed currently in the courts. So it's something to think about, can a robot do your job? If it can, what is it about you that's going to make sure the robot can't do as efficiently as you would do it? Because surely we're going to get there. It might not be 2030, but at some point it's going to happen, especially if you're young. Pretty sure you're hoping to live for quite some time. Our careers are still long. There's a lot of change in technology that's going to advance over the next few years. And now it's even accelerated by COVID. So it's definitely something to think about. So while I give you a chance to ponder on that thought, we're going to go on a quick ad break and we'll be back to continue talking about making career choices that matter.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Streaming 24/7.
24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika, nakupenda sana. Oh, Afrika, nakupenda sana.
Thank you. You are still listening to Bold News Radio. It's currently 7:45, and we'll be closing our comment section in about 5 minutes. So please make sure, drop all the questions that you have as soon as possible so we can get to them. We have a few more questions, and someone is asking, given our current atmosphere in South Africa, we've got quite a lot of suicides happening in the public eye over the past few weeks and months. What degree do you think would be able to alleviate that? Do you think there's a space for mental health practitioners in South Africa, given our current atmosphere?
My answer is absolutely. So remember when I mentioned that there will need to be more carers? Part of that is mental health. I think the state that the world is in at the moment just shows you that we are in desperate need of people that will listen. And if you have that gift, because once again, it's a calling, right? It's a gift that you need to have to be able to take on other people's problems and guide them down the route. Coaching, psychology, psychiatry, there's so much space for that. And SACAP is one of our big clients. They actually do a degree in psychology, but they also have certificate courses in coaching and social anxiety and all of those kind of things that if that is the kind of angle that you want to go into life, if you feel that you can really help people with just being you, I would really suggest that is something that you go into.
Thank you. I really hope Rulani Baloyi has been answered with regards to that question. Another question on the floor from Happiness is, what role do ATP serve? Are they still a thing?
Yes, they are if you go to university. So ATPs are very important if you go to state universities. That's how they grade. That's how they make sure that they get in the kind of students that they deserve, I guess. But a lot of the private institutions don't even look at it. They look at the kind of subjects that you have It depends on what kind of field you go into. For instance, if you go into animation, which is a massive industry that just keeps on growing, obviously due to the technology changes taking place, all they want is a portfolio to see that you can draw. If you want to go into, what is another one that I can mention to you? If you want to go into gaming design, for instance, and I know this because my son is now doing this, all he needed to do was an absolute love for gaming and to make sure that he is willing to put in the work to learn how to code, to learn how to write story scripts, to learn how to do all of these things. Because you know what? A lot of the things they have to unlearn when they go into the working world anyway.
Thank you so much. You mentioned some good points right there, learning, having the intention to learn and the different industries that are available to us. It's really important that when looking at careers, don't just download public institutions' prospectus. Look around, see what different things exist. Those careers that you see on movies, a lot of them currently exist. It's not just fictional things. So definitely take a look at that. Now, Kay, we're almost at the close of our program for this evening. And I just want to see, do you have anything that you feel you left out, with regards to choices of studying, choices of institutions?
Maybe not left out, but maybe just something that I want to bring home to the learners and the parents watching this and listening to this. I really want to implore you to take the time to investigate new things. Now, we all know about the big five. We all know about medicine and law and business and engineering and teaching. It's a common thing. We all know what those jobs look like, right? But do we really? Have you ever been in a hospital with the doctor when he is treating people? Have you ever been in a courtroom making sure that you understand what it is to actually practice law? Have you been in a business boardroom when things are going down? So what I'm asking is, make sure that your kid or you or somebody that wants to go and study or at least dedicate themselves to a certain route for now, know what they're getting themselves into. Whether that is animation or whether that is business or medicine or law. I want them to really know what it is they're going to get into. And the only way to do that is to make sure that you speak to people. If you're in grade 10 and you have a July holiday coming up, make sure that you go to a company and say, I just want to come and hang around. I just want to, speak to some people. If you are thinking about going into medicine, I would really, really suggest that you do this. Go to the hospital. Go see what happens there. I had a coaching client that an absolute A++ student, absolutely brilliant young lady. And obviously because of that, A+ is all round. And her parents were absolutely adamant that she needed to go and do medicine because she's so clever. And after having 2 or 3 coaching sessions with me, she went to a hospital during a Friday evening emergency. And she walked out of there saying that I'll never, ever be able to know that. And that's all it took. She wanted to be in medicine, but she couldn't deal with that kind of pressure and that kind of intensity that the emergency room has. So then she went and studied bioengineering. So she's still doing what she loved to do, but she's sitting in a lab with a white coat and minimal people around her in quietness. That suited her personality better. So all I'm saying is make sure that you link up who you are to what it is that you want to do.
Thank you so much. That's definitely true. There is a place, there is a career for you that is suited just for your personality. It may be unconventional. And that's something that we really hope that our show was able to illuminate today. What you are passionate about may be an unconventional career, but you may very well be able to make a success of it if you have the dedication to make it work and you are able to articulate your desires and what you want out of your career with your parents if they're the ones who are going to be funding your degree. And like she said, sometimes you're unable to swift them in the right direction. You can go and get a very good foundational degree and branch out by doing short courses, by doing certificates right after that. What you do isn't the end of it. You might have made a mistake and chosen a different degree, and maybe you're like in second year and you're thinking, may as well just stick it out till the very end. There's still a chance for you to do something else right after that. It's not the end. And we have one last question from our comment section, and someone is saying, are there any other ways to prepare for your career besides job shadowing?
So as I mentioned, definitely assessments to find out who you are, what it is that you like, what kind of environment would be best for you. So assessments, definitely. Job shadowing. I would say if you can, and you're in an environment where you can actually ask friends, family, find out what it is that they do. We all just so locked up in our little households that we know what mom and dad does, but we don't really know what our aunt or the neighbor next door would do. Maybe it's something to go and talk to them about. So what is it that you do? Maybe it's interesting. Maybe it's something unconventional that you go, oh, I never thought of that. And then I also really want to push the idea of entrepreneurship in South Africa. We need more people to create jobs. We really do. So if you are one of those very bold people that want to create something for themselves, like I was, and you can create opportunities for other people, then that is magnificent. Please make sure that you get the right qualifications for that and the right input from the right people, because it's not enough. So yeah, that's just, I would say, speak to as many people as you possibly can and get as much information. And of course, get onto swivel.com. That's why we are there.
Thank you. I hope you all heard that. Hop on to swivel.com. Swivel. Make your choices. Take some time. Especially if you are in high school. Dedicate a day and just say, I'm just going to look at things, unconventional things, traditional careers, whatever it is. Take a look at everything. Don't be so stuck in a box and think I'm going to study medicine and not even consider looking at other things. It may be what you want, then maybe just inform yourself about the other things that are there. You don't just need to know what's relevant to you. It's important. We live in an age where information is really important. You may be able to help the person next door. You may be able to help someone who just happens to talk to you. So you need to be equipped and know all these things to be able to assist those people. And everything that we've said, we need to remember that there is a career fitted just for you. You just need to go out and look for it. Whether it's unconventional, if you have to find a job while you study in order to fund your studies or be able to buy yourself groceries, that's something you should consider doing, because in the end, your career is yours, and it's important that you own it and you do the very best that you can to make sure that you're in an environment you enjoy. You don't want to be one of those people who, after graduating, you think every Monday morning that, oh my goodness, I need to go to work. It's not something that you want to be experiencing. So take this time, make good career choices while you still can. If you're a young person, share this video with other young people. Share the link to swivel.com with them. Help someone find something that they knew they needed to find. Because sometimes you don't even know that you needed something. You never know. And you do it and you're like, wow, I really, really needed this. So it's important that we share this information. Go out there, look and swivel, make great career choices. Kay, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Had a lovely time chatting to you. Pretty sure a lot of our high school learners are still thinking about many questions that they'd like to ask you. Kay has told you that you're able to connect to different institutions right from Swivel, and you'll be able to talk to them and find out some more information from them. So this is something I really urge you all to do, especially I hope all matric students know that applications at a lot of institutions of higher learning are currently open. Others will be opening within the next 2-3 weeks. Get your applications in early. Don't wait for the very last day to start applying. Don't just have private institutions as something that you're going to think about in January when you don't get space. Consider, those institutions from this very point. When you apply, have it as one of the places you're going to apply to. Don't apply to just one institution. That is a risky thing to do. Never do it. Always have a few that you apply to and you have options. If they all accept you, that's great. You'll be able to choose the one you want. But if not, then you have space to go look for other institutions that you would possibly go to, because we understand that there isn't a lot of space in institutions of higher learning, especially public institutions. They can only take so many people, and you don't want to find yourself in a position where you are stranded simply because you didn't consider alternative routes. So hop onto Swivel, see what you like to hear, interact with all these people, and I guarantee you'll be able to make a career choice that matters. Okay, any last words?
Last words, make it count. Just make your life count. That's it.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We hope you had a lovely time, and we really hope you'll be visiting Swivel.com to make your choices that matter. Make it count. Thank you. Enjoy your evening. Goodbye.